we're going through the whole roll call tonight. We'll go directly into some short presentations by those who were actively involved in the Atlanta trip last week. And then instructor will come on. When instructor comes on, he'll share a full hour with us, but that'll be after we have the brief presentations for those that attended was actively involved, I should say, here in Atlanta last week. So we're going to mute everyone.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
Yes. So everyone has been muted or should mute yourselves if you've unmuted yourselves. And William Safir is going to get us started so that we don't have any unnecessary delays. We have a lot to bring to you this evening. So William, I'm going to ask you to take the floor. Our guests, please be patient. We'll be calling on you by name when we want you to speak on the Atlanta experience. So this is going to be a kind of different setup in terms of how we run the class tonight. We want to make sure that you're beginning to feel the growth as you continue to witness the growth. But we want it from people who themselves are feeling the growth and accommodating that growth. And I don't think there's been any greater a growth spurt than what happened in Atlanta just a few days ago. So William, I'll ask you to take it from here.
All right. We ask that source creator guide our thoughts and our words this evening. And let's start with Wali Uddin Sabir, and he'll give some impressions upon the experience from last week. And then we'll alternate. We'll go from Wali, and I think we'll let Arletta speak next. Arletta Safir, my oldest daughter. But let's start with Wali.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I hear you well.
All right. Yes. With the name of Allah, merciful benefactor, merciful redeemer. This indeed was a very exciting and productive week here in Atlanta. We enjoyed having an instructor here, and I would just share a few comments on the meeting with Shanaz, who is the owner of a Montessori school. First, share with you, I was introduced to Shanaj about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago by a good friend of ours, Yusuf Ali. She had a project that she wanted me to look at, and so we went to her home. And while we were there, she was sharing, something about, her experience with the Montessori school. It was very insightful, the comments that she made concerning how she got started. She gave some background on how she got involved with the Montessori program. And then, of course, we took that opportunity to share some information with her about Nunetics. That was, she just was loved and could not get enough. She loved what she heard. And so, as a matter of fact, while I was there, I called the instructor, and she had a chance to talk with him one-on-one. And we decided, it was decided then that had to be a follow-up meeting. So when part of the instructors coming to Atlanta was for the express purpose of meeting with Sister Shanaj and exploring more and more of an intimate relationship with her, with the whole Montessori program. So as a result, when the instructor came, we did meet with her for about a little bit, an hour or so. And, she was very excited. As a matter of fact, she said that, once she learned that there were some other people from Bangladesh that was, very much involved and interested in Nunetics, and also with the interested in the establishing, program there in Bangladesh. And she was very excited about that and expressed her willingness to really work with that as well. So I will, just end it with that. Again, it was a very exciting, connection with Shanaj, and we're looking for some real productive things coming from that relationship. So that's it, William. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Wally. Yeah, it was an exciting weekend. I think we all enjoyed ourselves and benefited so much. Just sharing in the unity of our growing community, and then that was huge. We had one opportunity to meet with a couple of young people, 11 and 13 years old, and that was quite an experience, just sharing with them. It's nothing like being able to reach out to some youth, especially African-American young men, and encourage them in their journey, and let them know that there's a place for them on this earth, and it's a very important place, and we're there to support them. So that was an exciting experience. And it was from, they were the children of someone who's new to Nunetics. She's been introduced, she was introduced during the instructor's visit there, and she was so excited about what we were doing. And you hear more about that particular meeting. I think Brother Anwar will share those words with you in just a few minutes. But she was at the meeting that where we were pulling together curriculum for homeschool, and she was so excited about the potential in it until she set up a one-on-one meeting with the instructor, and we were all there to support him. And she brought her sons. And so, of course, the instructor spent the whole hour or two, however long it was, directly sharing with those two young minds. And there's some very brilliant minds, so we're expecting some great things out of them. But that was a very unique part of the week for us to just focus that time on two young men that are trying to make their way in the world. It was exciting. So Arletta, if you are here.
Okay, well, assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Arletta, so I'm William's oldest daughter, and it's a pleasure to be here. So this past week, when Instructor Bilal was in town, I was able to join the class on Saturday class at, is that Masjid Al Baina? Is that the name of the masjid?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I was able to have the honor and the pleasure of joining that class. And so that was my first in-person class with Instructor Bilal. So I was really excited. And it was, the class was about a good hour, maybe a little bit longer, but it was, I don't know, everything I anticipated and more, very dynamic. The energy and the synergy was awesome. My heart was warmed most by the questions and input of the young sisters who were there. And also just having a sense of being in a space of Muslims, actually, where clear thinking or questioning is the expectation and the norm. I've not experienced any other environment like that, at least around Muslims. And it being in a mash, I don't know, it was a lot of different aspects and dynamics to the experience that I really enjoyed and really appreciated. And I don't know, it was very, very heartwarming and expansive. I don't know if you want me to go into specifics, but yes, that was my initial experience. I don't know, as a lifelong learner, I think that was the second or maybe third class that I've attended with an instructor. I don't know, it was kind of set a foundation for a number of different possibilities for me. I'm looking forward to incorporating some nunetic aspects in the African-American history class that I'm creating for the homeschool project here in Atlanta. And so I got that insight. So that should be very exciting, really linking the language to our heritage, to our history, and also what we've created, mastered, and how we've impacted the world through that, through a historical lens. So I think that should be very, very exciting. And so that's a whole different additional dynamic that really kind of tie everything together and bring it home. So I was really excited about that. And I don't know, for me, having been born and raised Muslim and just being in an environment where so many of the questions that I had as a teenager and as a young adult that I could not ask, and then I did ask, would not get an answer, to be in an environment where, you know, things such as concept of patriarchy and matriarchal societies and how that played into language, into religion, into experience, is something that I never thought I would see or hear. And I actually did get a chance to experience that. You know, I'm not the only one or the crazy one. And even if it's 20 years, you know, after so many discoveries that I had to come up with my own, which is very heartwarming to know that there are other individuals, groups, truth-seeking humans who are really actively involved in the process of growing and learning and becoming more authentic versions of ourselves. So I think I'm complete with that, but yes, that's just the overall synopsis of my experience with the class that I participated in. And having lunch afterwards was very enjoyable as well. So yeah, so I'm complete with that.
Great. Thank you very much, Arletta. And it was, I'm sure all those who got an opportunity to share with you and your being part of the experience really made a big difference indeed. So we appreciate that. Now let's go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel, he was our point person that really made this event come off as successful as it did. He made sure that instructor was that the finances were taken care of, that the instructor was transported as needed, and got him to all the activities that we had that we had planned in a very timely fashion. And I can't say enough about how Ezekiel had helped to make this event very successful. So Ezekiel, if you are there, you can share, if you would, please, sir.
Salaam alaikum.
Salam.
I was responsible mostly for like this security detail for the instructor, and but I think the overall structure and from the different presentations to the business people, it was a success. We met about 4 meetings with different in different settings to structure a model that would accommodate Nunetics. And like I say, I think you can get more of the analytics from Anwar to the nature of the business side of it, you know. So I was the point guy, so I handled that administrative part of that business. And Anwar conducted a setting that was he gave educational PowerPoint. He did a PowerPoint, which was powerful, to the fact that he initiated the the outlay of the structure for the course program, which is going to take place at the Kendrick Healing Center. So, like I say, he will give you the analytics on that project, or the project that's going to be installed. He's the instructor administrative head for the Atlanta area. So I would pass that mic on to Anwar.
Okay, thank you very much, Ezekiel. I tell you what, before we go to Anwar, we had someone that visited there at that particular meeting that you're referring to, and she's with us. She's new to the Nunetics experience. And Purity, I see you're with us.
All right. Y'all can hear me?
There we go. There we go. We can indeed.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. I don't know what you want me to say, man. I'm currently doing yoga with my tribe, so I don't know what you want me to speak on. So
Just let us know about your interaction and your what you experienced at the meeting where we was putting the curriculum together. Your thoughts about that, how that went, and your expectations in terms of where it's going and your involvement in it.
okay, well, nice to meet everybody virtually. My name Jamaya, but this is my first time being invited to the meeting. I actually met the brother Benjamin at where I'm at right now at Tassili's, just conversating, eavesdropping really. But he invited me out, and come to find out I've been on this path for like a vision with building a school. So actually coming back to Atlanta and actually seeing people really put emphasis on like homeschool curriculums and stuff, like it really just motivated me as like a young adult to like keep going, and it made me get more organized and like see like, oh, like it's really possible and I really could do this if I just, get a little organized. So it was inspiring to see like the elders and other people like really I'm be real, y'all got hope in the next generation. And I'm part of that next generation. I'm 26, but like y'all giving me hope on what I'm doing, and it just made me like hopeful for like just not even building a new school system, but just building something for like Black and brown kids to really be a part of, and they feel good about being a part of it. Cause like I was scared a little bit to like, go in certain rooms cause I'm young, but like I don't know, it charged me up like, shit, they doing it, I could do it. Like, so it was very inspiring, and I hope that like y'all really fall through with it because it's needed. And like just a little bit before I go, like 5 years ago, like Allah had gave me a vision of a school when I was in my early 20s, and it just like I ain't think about like how big they'll play a part in my life now, like how much like that vision is needed. So like I really hope like I'm just being real, y'all take it serious, because I'm taking it serious, and I'm following y'all. So like that's all I got to say. It was an amazing experience, and it just, gave me hope for tomorrow, the next day, to keep going. So that's all I got to say.
I appreciate you, Jamia, man. We look forward to working very closely together. We want to be mutually supportive. We want to support what you're doing, and however we can plug into that, and however you can mutually support each other. That's how the community grows. So we appreciate you.
So
Therefore, that's what we're here. We're here to serve. All right.
all right.
So thanks again. Look forward to seeing you make it tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I'll be there tomorrow, but I'm gonna get back to my yoga class. I appreciate the invite though.
All right, thank you much.
All right, y'all have a good one.
All right, peace. All right, next we will go to Anwar. Anwar, let's get you unmuted, and why don't you share some thoughts, and then we'll have Brittany follow you. But Anwar, why don't you go ahead and share about what we're doing, the thing that you want to share in terms of what we're doing with the homeschooling project.
Assalamu alaikum.
Your experience for the week, and also share about wherever you want to in terms of your family's involvement at the class or whatever. Go ahead.
Certainly. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First, let me just say it was a privilege to follow behind our sister, young sister Purity just now. She is, she is a very pure light to the room. And it was a very welcome light to our meeting. She offered a lot of insight to what we were discussing and planning. And so I'm glad to see her again in that natural environment. She's outside doing yoga, which is a beautiful thing. So, that was, I'm glad to follow behind her and just give everyone just a brief overview of what is going to eventually be probably the most dynamic homeschool program in the country, if not the world. I just want to say I'm relatively new, a relatively new learner to Nunetics, but I am not new to education. I have over 20 plus years of experience in education in both the classroom and as an administrator. And I was welcomed into the fold by yourself, Brother William, Instructor Bilal, and Brother Wale, Brother Ezekiel. And I wouldn't be able to speak with so much conviction on what has been a seed that is now starting to germinate and grow into something that's not just going to become the most powerful product in the natural environment. It's going to be a shift in the paradigm of education as a whole. And I'm not gonna speak at length. I have been introduced to another very, very powerful, very dynamic, very brilliant young sister by the name of Brittany, who was one of the original creators of this program. And she has allowed me to partner in this project and to help advance it and take it to another level. And so, we're in the process now of establishing a homeschool curriculum that can be utilized as a supplement to what is homeschool parents are doing at home, as well as if you have a student who's in the public school setting or even the private school setting, it would work as a supplement to their learning. What makes it transformative is the foundation of core principles and beliefs that us as planners and organizers are putting together. We understand that education in this current state is not transformative. It's not impactful, and it's not creating the type of contributors to society that Allah would want. We've lost our way in terms of our connection to the environment. And so we are trying to reestablish that connection to the environment by looking at all the core areas of learning, but in a much deeper and meaningful way, in a way that connects us back to the elements of ether and fire and air and water and earth, and our connection, and our own human development, and how our human development connects with every aspect of learning. And so and I don't want to get into too much detail because we're planning every day. And we had a meeting last week with the instructor where I presented some key ideas, and Brittany's going to speak further into where we are with those things. But rest assured, we are going to see this thing all the way to its conclusion. So Purity, you have nothing to worry about because this is our mission, and we're going to see it all the way to its conclusion. And so over the course of a few months and in a few years, we will constantly be updating the group. Everyone who has children ages 8 to 18, prepare them to be a part of this educational journey, because it's going to change their lives. It's going to change the way that they think about themselves and the way that they think about society and their impact in society. I do want to turn it over to Brittany, because she is, I mean, there's, what can I say about this sister? She's so dynamic and so powerful in her work and her work ethic and her presentation. And I'm honored to actually be working alongside her to see this program to its fruition. So that's all I have to say, really. And the rest of the weekend was amazing. I was at Masjid Al Baina as well with my family. There was so many. It was a powerful meeting of the minds. We discussed many different topics, and not to go into any real detail, I would be doing a disservice to try and teach on some of the subjects. But we really discussed this idea of threes in Islam and in the world itself, and the significance and the meaning of it. And I'll just say, we talked about the that number, how it can be found in the natural environment. It can be found in the human body, head, upper body, lower body. It can be found in mind, body, and soul or spirit. It can be found in sun, moon, and stars. It can be found in the triune brain. And we really broke it down from where it was manipulated by the higher religious orders in the form of the Trinity and the first Trinity of in the Bible, which was Adam, Eve, and the serpent. And like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail. It was action packed. It was powerful. If the instructor wants to elaborate on it, that's great. But I'm not going to take up too much time because I can get verbose. So I'm gonna pass it on back to you, Brother William, and looking forward to hearing from Sister Brittany. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you very much, Anwar. Allah is just sending us the kind of treasures and purity, and Anwar and Brittany. I mean, my own daughter, Arletta. Allah is taking our work, really to that level where not only we'll be competitive with anything else that's happening in the world, but Allah is pushing us forth into the leadership position. So we really want to appreciate Imam Kareem at Masjid Al Baina. They're always such wonderful hosts, and make everyone feel comfortable and welcome, and and really make you feel like that old saying with the Hispanics, mi casa, su casa, where we felt like we were at home at that masjid, and that's the way any masjid should be. So we want to thank you, Imam, for being such a gracious host for that particular part of our journey last week. Okay, now Brittany, and how much can I say about her? Wow. We actually met in a forest, believe it or not, right here in Atlanta. And after she opened up and made herself available to help everyone that was in that particular group, to help push their efforts forward and try to bring them together. When I saw her heart and her mind opening herself up like that to assist everybody else, I knew it was I was coming into contact with a special human being. So I didn't miss the opportunity. I've actually adopted her as one of my children. I'm like, I think it was one of the Black Power leaders back then when he said, seize the time. I try to make that a practice. Brittany, are you available? United Wellness is your organization. You're doing an awesome job with that. And would you share with everyone, if you would, please?
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, family. Greetings to everyone. Pray you are all well. Yes, we had a fantastic week with and the instructor, as always, when he comes to town. It is no surprise there that he is a very dynamic force wherever he goes, as well as Nunetics. I'm just excited to really learn more about what he has to offer and excited to partner with Nunetics as we journey through this Creators University project with Kendrick Healing Center and beyond. So we got to, I guess I'm gonna talk a little bit about some points that came up in the meeting when he was here last Wednesday. The most, I'll just say the most dynamic point, because there were so many points, but the one that stood out to me the most when we were discussing the organization of our curriculum, we were discussing, of course, the core being the 5 elements, which definitely, that in itself, when we discuss 5 elements, was definitely brought to our attention by Instructor Bilal and the Nunetics program itself, that alone. But we're also looking at centering the focus of this curriculum also with the laws of the universe. But in this, Brother Bilal came and said, he really believes that Nunetics is the ether. And I absolutely had to agree, because Nunetics is providing really the lifeblood, really the extraction point from this transformative system that we're creating. It's almost like providing this membrane for us where we can take what is real and leave what is false through language, through frequency. So it's a very, I don't even know how to really describe the magnitude of what Nunetics brings to any table, but also just to education, by itself. So that was the most dynamic point for me from our meeting. But yeah, I'm just, again, there's so many in our meetings, and I know Brother Anwar can bear witness to this, because I feel like we both, we have a hard time just observing and not being able to, chime in on how amazing these concepts are. Just that in itself, during the meetings, it's really hard to digest all of it at once. Everything needs to be picked apart and examined in so many different directions. It's so rich. But again, just very excited to do what I can to help the instructor and the team flourish in whatever direction we're going, and excited to come together for the Creators University project. So thank you.
All right, and thank you very much. Again, I can't say enough in terms of thanks, appreciation, and thank Allah for bringing us together in this collective effort. And I don't know if those of you in our class, those of you who are supporting the whole Nunetics movement, if I don't know if you can register the importance of what we're doing here, but we are actually in the process of bringing in a whole new creation to humanity in terms of the way learning is done. And putting together this curriculum is the seed of that, the formal seed of that. It's been in its involution stage. Now the seed is forming, and we'll move into the evolutionary stage of the development of our contribution to humanity. And this effort here with the homeschooling will be a big part of that. Let's Brother Yahya Hassan, if you are available. Yahya, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I enjoyed the visit,
For some reason, your sound is not coming through.
but I'm excited. William Frame what I was going to talk about by referencing something new coming being produced. And what I see are the seeds of a revolutionary educational system that is going to put into place a whole new civilization. And the seeds of that is being produced, and rather than his story, is being produced as we push this along. I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited and surprised at the convergence of the concept that Sister Shanaj
You're breaking up now. Yeah, yeah.
of education is quite different than the standard public. I think it's a connection problem. I don't know how to improve that. Do you need to come back to me at another time?
Yes, yes. It's to see if you can go out and come back. That might help some.
Okay.
All right, let's try that. Okay, let's move to Adila Muhammad. You're with us.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I felt so honored to be able to sit with the learners on Friday. And as it would happen, Friday morning, I got a call from a friend, and I told her I was getting prepared for a nunetic session. And she said, yeah, I've been listening to Instructor Bilal for a while, but I haven't officially joined the class. She said, but I'm real interested in learning more. So I invited her. She came and was very inspired by the session we had outside. So
Is it possible for you to open your camera up? There we go. Great.
So we have decided we are going to get together on Sunday mornings and study together.
Awesome.
Also, we're trying to get the details on the class at Al Baina, if that's held weekly, to attend that, because we were both inspired to really knuckle down and become productive with the Nunetics.
Okay, thank you very much. And it was a beautiful environment. You know, I thought it was going to be too warm, too hot out there, but it wasn't. You know, it was so. And you all, the warmth coming from you all, you know, but it was not too hot at all. You know, and just being out in that open area, it was like a garden. You know, taste of Jannah out there, and it was perfect.
So you mentioned the Montessori school earlier. That's actually a Montessori inspired child development center, Hodges House. So it was a lovely environment, and the lessons are just really good. So, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Well, we're looking forward to how Nunetics can enhance that environment. You know, you're already doing wonderful work, but we can always enhance what we're doing, and that's what we're really about. And those classes are each Sunday. You can check with the masjid for the exact time, but they're each Sunday. And Imam Kareem is doing a wonderful.
Okay, I've called, but I haven't gotten to speak to anyone. But I would like to know what time so that we can make that a part of our commitment as well.
Okay, between Wali and I, we'll make sure you get the information.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you. Okay, next we will. Okay, y'all, let's try.
I don't know whether my signal's any stronger.
You sound much better.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me any better?
And you're winding it down. So you're going to lead us into Instructor Bilal. So.
Well, like I said, this movement is like the seeds of a new revolutionary kind of a thing. And we are in the process of creating our history. And in this process, we have prepared the ground, and I'm excited about how this process is going along, being a part of it and contributing to it the best as I can. Instructor Bilal's statements at the meeting with the regarding the homeschool was very good in that the establishment of Nunetics as producing the ether, that which encompasses or surrounds all, or envelops all, and or provides a frame for all of what we're doing. And what I see is in the development of Nunetics, the production of an heirloom type of seed or heirloom type of education system, something that has not been cloned or engineered or contaminated in any way. Goes from the source of the human spirit, establish the best of human dignity and potential.
You
I'm excited about that.
you're going well, but now we're having problems again.
Okay, well, I'll bow out.
We appreciate your remarks, brother. We really do, and your support. It takes all of us to make an effort like this successful, and you did great, man. We appreciate you and the brothers and sisters, everyone that played a part in making this event successful. We appreciate the support that we got from Nunetics supporters from around the country, who couldn't be here in person necessarily, but they were here in spirit, and we felt that you contributed the funds that was necessary in order to make a successful event. So I know we here in Atlanta definitely appreciate the support, because the work that was done here is not just for us, it was for all of us, and ultimately for the forward movement of the whole humanity. With that, Instructor Bilal, if you are ready, sir, I think we're all eagerly waiting for what you prepared for as a spiritual and intellectual and moral meal for us today.
Well, thank you. I'm anxiously awaiting that also. I'm always in the audience when I talk, Yeah. Yes, indeed. But thank you to all of you who contributed to the success of the almost a week full of days. I call it a strong week. If it's any kind of week, it's a week that's getting stronger and stronger the more we continue to do what it is we do. So thank you to all of you who have joined us this evening. We're not going to be that much longer. I promise that when I talk, it won't be any more than 1 hour. It might not even be that tonight, because we've heard from so many of the illustrious guests that we had join us, and I call them guests even though they live there in Atlanta and I was the actual guest, but they were my guests in terms of my Nunetics presentation. Again, special shout out to Imam Kareem, who is always a wonderful soul. He's actually on his own as an independent thinker. He began a Nunetics class, as you've been hearing about, and I think that class meets every Sunday. They're at Masjid al-Bayina. And when I produce this video, I will have the address and the phone number, contact number for Masjid al-Bayina and that particular class, which I believe is held every Sunday at 11, or I think it's from either it's from 11 to 12 or from noon to 1. I'm not sure, but we'll get the details on that and make sure that that's posted in the video replay. So welcome. I've just been on top of the world, really, since being back from Atlanta. There are certain events that occur in a person's life that practically bring tears to the eye. And that doesn't have to always be in a physical sense, but it's more of a metaphorical tear. In just reflecting on the rapid growth spurt that Nunetics is experiencing right now, we are already reaching hands with the people overseas. We have had for quite some time some very, very important people. And when I say important, it's not that some are not important. It's just that some of the people that have been assisting us for years now on a very, very quiet level, in a very, very quiet way. These are people who are helping to move the message of Nunetics across the country. And some of them that I'm seeing right now in the queue are actually moving Nunetics across the planet. And that's a wonderful sign for us. I think it's where we ought to go. I think it's where we have been conditioned to go in our growth and development. Those of you who were under, at one point, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and you remember on the cover of the standard newspaper called Muhammad Speaks newspaper, there was a picture of the African-American or the Black man in America reaching his hands across the planet to join hands with people from the continent of Africa. Well, that's beginning to happen on a lot of levels. And I'm not talking nunetically now, I'm talking just in terms of Muslims in this country who are beginning to do and have been doing for quite a while now, some big business with people in Africa, big business with people in other countries that we won't name right now. It's not important. It's important to understand that coming out of the traditional life that became our post-slavery, our post-Civil War, our post-Jim Crow days, to see what's happening in the world right now with the people who suffered that level of tyranny, and to see the progress that is being made, and to know that the crux of the progress is actually under the umbrella of true human activities. It's not a political movement that we're experiencing right now. It's not even an economic, those who have versus those who have not kind of movement. It is a movement of people who are taking full advantage of the blessings, the gifts that Allah has given to them, blessed them with, and naturally would love for them to share with other people, particularly from their circumstances, but even not from their circumstances, from other parts of the world where people barely speak English. These people right now, as far as Nunetics go, they're loving Nunetics. I said to some of you, just as an American born, I'm talking most of you now, American born, I sent this as an American born tease or teaser. And I know he doesn't like to be put on Front Street, but there's a recent contributor to the Nunetics family. His name is Abdul Alim. He's in the queue right now, I believe. I saw him earlier. And I'm not going to ask him to speak. He's a great listener, and his listening skills are manifest in his many emails that he sends to me. He actually sends me these emails almost on a daily basis now, which means that I receive about 3 to 5, maybe as high as 7 words from the Quran, from the Arabiya, the Quran, the Arabic verbs, where he is breaking them down sufficiently and proficiently in terms of their Nunetics meanings, So I put a challenge out earlier in the email, because I know that those of you who are American born and you've been here in this experience, I've heard you and I've seen you match what Abdul Alim is doing. I just want you to contribute. Send it to me in an email. All right. We need to know that all of us are learning. And that was the main point in going to Atlanta. These Atlanteans, I guess they're called, are something else. You should be proud, not just Atlanta, the entire country and those outside of the country participating in this Nunetics method. You all should be very, very proud of what is taking place in the city of Atlanta and its surrounding areas. We're going to continue to do that. We have enough people in Florida, believe it or not, to make a visit to Florida. We have enough people in Philadelphia and the surrounding areas of New Jersey, Camden and Trenton and Newark and these places. And New York, they'll come out to New Jersey. We have enough people to have these small conclave type of personalized seminars. I'd like to meet you if I haven't met you, and I'm sure it's mutual. So these are things that will not be limited to Atlanta, but they're going to become diffused out throughout the country. And it might just be 5 of you there. It just so happens that we have quite a few in Atlanta, but you might just have 5 people in your area. Put together a plan for bringing instructor Benjamin Bilal to your area for 2 days a weekend, a 3-day weekend or something. And let's spread this message and let's share the excitement and the energy. That's what we need to be doing, sharing the excitement and the energy. Don't look for 100 people. Don't look for 1,000 people. Look for 10 people. And those 10 people can get a job done that sometimes the 1,000 can't get done. So that's where we are in that. Let me go to my notes and begin this linguistic party. Hold on for one moment. We're going to be talking very briefly today about reverencing the wombs that bore you. Reverencing the wombs that bore you. In the Quran, those wombs are called arham. Arham. And it's from the word rahm, which means womb, singular. Arham is the plural of rahm, singular. And rahm, from the verb rahama or rahima, is indicative of the womb environment, WOMB, the womb environment. What I encourage all of you to do as Nunetics thinkers is to not take for granted anymore any words that come across your screen. No matter how small they are, no matter whether you think you know this word already, I invite you as a Nunetics thinker to become much more deeply invested in these words. Don't wait until it's a word that you've never heard before. Take these words that are in the Quran in translation form and begin to investigate them. Open them up like you open up the earth to put the seed, to plant the seed, to put the water and to let the sun shine. You gotta create an environment for growth. When that happens, that's when your brain is going to begin to literally open up and invite all of what's necessary for its growth and development to actually come in. All right, so we're talking about an ayah or an instructing sign that is placed in the Quran in the 4th surah called the An-Nisa, the first verse. Allah is giving this particular verse a priority. Keep that in mind. Okay, so look at what Allah says here. Ya ayyuhan nasu attaqu rabbakum alladhi khalaqakum min nafsin wahidatin wa khalaqa minha zawjaha wa batha minhuma rijalan kathiran wa nisa'an واتقوا الله الذي تتساءلون به والأرحام, the word we were discussing before we left. الأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. Let us translate that now. O humankind, Ya ayyuhan nas. An-nas or el-nas is the word that Allah uses for the totality of human beings roaming this planet. So we say humankind, and there's an indication in the word humankind that humans should attempt to be kind. I know what we used to say back in the day in reference to the word mankind. They used to say that represents a people on this earth who are like a kind of man. They're not a real man. They're not real men. They're really like a kind of man. I know that was the old logic, but the bottom line is that the word mankind comes from the word kin. Kin, as in your kinfolk, your relatives, people related to you by blood. Well, all humans on this planet are related to each other by blood. 98% of our DNA, science says, is the same basic DNA. So that's what we mean by human kin or kind. Kind simply means that if you follow the behaviors that have been instituted by the source creator for that particular life form, then you are also a member in that broader group called a humankind or mankind. We don't normally like to keep saying man because that suggests male although the word within mankind is not suggesting male. When it says man, it's suggesting mind, that man means mind. And in the same way that the word mind contains the last letter D, so does the English word kind that rhymes with mind. Man means mind, and the word mind comes from the smaller word min. When you take off the D as a suffix, it leaves you the word min, min. And min is a Shemitic word. And it means a lot of things. It means from, it means, it's an ancient word in the Arabic language for the moon. And even the word moon with its MN connection is related to min with its MN connection. It merely points to something that is reflecting off of something else. Like the moon is reflecting off the light of the sun. It reflects the light of the sun. The mind is supposed to reflect the light of socially learned information. The sun is a symbol of social knowledge, social logic. When you go out there and you start involving yourself in the society and looking at the business life and the academic life and the cultural life and all of these other levels of society, you study those levels of society. That's your individual mind, which is your personal moon. See, the moon doesn't shine for anybody but itself, basically. The moon is not up there to shine and show you the city. The moon is up there to show you where you are, presently speaking. You might not be able to see what's down the block when the moon is out, because the moon's emphasis is on your individual light, what you need to know in your own little circle. The sun is light that gives you insight into your broader environment. So the sun is the broader environment of social life, things you can see that are not necessarily close to you at this point. All right. The moon, individual light of your individual mind. The sunlight, social light that gives you extended views of things and how to connect with other things out there. That's what you need to understand. So that was a little lesson on the word kind. Kind is from kin. Kin means family. So we're talking about the human family when we talk about humankind or mankind. O humankind, be regardful of your duty to your guardian evolver and cherisher, who created you all from a single person or personality, a nafs, that is wahida, nafsan wahida, single personality. You can also translate that. So although we have all of these various personalities, the source creator actually evolved us socially out of one personality. There's actually a human personality type. That's what humankind is pointing to. That your one personality type that you have in common with other humans is supposed to be a kind personality, not a kind of person, a kind personality. And from it created its mate. And from them twain, meaning those two, has spread abroad a multitude of men and women. Be careful of your duty toward Allah, in whom you claim your rights of one another, and toward the wombs that bore you. Lo, Allah has been a watcher over you. So I'm only going to speak to a couple of the points that are being made here by Allah in Surah 4, Ayat 1, and I think that'll be sufficient for tonight until we meet again on Sunday. These are commandments coming from our source creator, commandments. The first two commandments are to serve Allah and to respect your family ties. Listen at how they're put. O mankind, be regardful Have taqwa is what it is saying for those of you who understand that Arabic word in the Quran. Have taqwa regarding your duty to your Rabb, your guardian evolver, the one who is cherishing you, nourishing you, and allowing you to experience the expansion that comes along with your personal evolution, beginning in your mother's belly. Allah is saying, be regardful of your responsibility to that source creator. And he created all of us from a single personality and then created that mate for that particular personality. And then from those two, Allah has spread abroad the multitude of human beings that you see populating the planet as we speak. Then Allah issues a second command. He says, have taqwa, or be careful or be regardful of your duty towards Allah. And he names himself personally. Now you'll notice, if you can follow the transliteration, that here Allah is referring to himself as Rabbakum, or your Rabb, R-A-B-B, which they normally translate as Lord. So he doesn't say, have taqwa for Allah here. He begins by saying, have taqwa for your Rabb, the one who is constantly evolving you. He brought you through a period of involution where all of your parts had to be put together and, coming out of the ether, wherever we say we came from. But we know that in the womb, we are just a tadpole looking kind of life form. And then arms begin to bud and, little buds, just buds. And then the toes begin to bud. And all of a sudden, it stops looking so much like a tadpole and begins to look like a developing fetus. From the embryo stage, we go into the fetus stage. And the fetus begins to give us some of the more recognizable human form that we're used to. Eyes, little buds, nose begins to bud. A mouth begins to bud, fingers on the hand, and then the thumb in the mouth, even in the womb. Right? So the two legs, the two arms, the back, the spine, all of these things begin to blossom, actually. The heart, and you can see the heart beating through that almost invisible flesh. So all of these things are taking place as an involutionary development. And it is actually after we become physically born into this world that we experience the brunt of the evolutionary development. So we say that Allah is Rabb as an evolver, but we miss the point that Allah is also Rabb as the involver, the one who creates involution. Look that word up. So the term Rabb is mentioned first. And then as a second commandment, Allah says, have taqwa for your duty, in terms of your duty to Allah. He doesn't use the term Rabb. And, when a human being is born, they don't know anything about a source creator being responsible for it. They're not conscious of that. The child is conscious of those things that are taking place that are assisting its growth and development, like mama and her milk or food or whatever, then dad joins in. The baby sees dad bringing certain things at home, comforts and toys and these kinds of things. And that's the whole baby's life. The baby's God, for lack of a better term, is its parents, especially its mother. And Allah designed it like that you can't come here and then in a month's time you say Allah is the supreme. No, you don't know anything about that. All you know is that someone is nourishing you. And that's what Rabb means, essentially. The one who is nourishing you and helping you to grow stage by stage by stage. But the second commandment is obviously a commandment that is to be handled by the developing intellect. See? And that is to be careful of your duty to Allah, whom you claim your rights over one another. When you start claiming that you have rights over your brother, over your sister, when you start claiming that you even have rights regarding your parents and what they are supposed to be doing for you. Allah says, be careful of that attitude. right? Because Allah has been a watcher over all of you. You sitting there watching your brother do the wrong thing and squealing on him, but you better know that Allah is watching all of you. And there will come a time when you're going to have to report back to base regarding the things that you did that you shouldn't have done, or report back regarding those things that you did do and did well. Allah is watching all of us. All right, so keep that in mind. 2 commandments: to serve Allah and to have regard for the arham, the wombs of development that we are constantly going through. We come out of the physical womb into an emotional womb and into a spiritual womb. When we come here, we don't know anything about this flesh and blood that was born out of our mothers. All of the vision for the infant is going out, and impressions are what are coming in. And those impressions are mostly spiritual, because you don't know the world as a material world yet. We know it in our adult life, in the teenage life. We know it as a material world where we begin wanting all of these material things. But the baby has more of a spiritually inclined connection with the world, the parents and the others around it, because it can't even see itself. If you held the baby up to the mirror, newborn, they don't know that's them. They have to learn that. So their first development is actually tied into a spiritual connection with the world. If it were a material connection, they'd be able to determine right away, hey, that's a different race. That lady there, she ain't like us. They'd be able to determine, oh, that's a different gender. But they don't know those things because Allah did not tie their little itty bitty brains into these material dynamics. Allah tied those little itty bitty brains into a spiritual umbilical cord after the physical one is snipped. Now they have a spiritual connection with the mother, to where when she disappears, that baby has a hissy fit. See? So we are born really into a spiritually complex world that Allah is supervising at all times. That's the first connection. So there are 2 main themes for this particular surah, and I'm including the entirety of Surah 4 if you read it throughout. You're going to see that one of its major themes is surrounding the idea of social ethics. Social ethics. And the other theme is tied around the troublemakers, the people who begin to make problems for those who are in the business of establishing correct social ethics. There are people in the world who see themselves as the overseers of people who just want to grow, humanly speaking. They want to be kind. They want to be compassionate. They want to be giving. But there are some people lurking in the dark whose sole mission, it seems, is to just disrupt that which was not bothering anybody. You know, it's like we used to do when we were children. You know, you come out and you see an anthill or something. It's not bothering you, but you have to go step on it, don't you? See, we begin to do things in Allah's creation that represent violations of serious moral and ethical codes. So the people who are attempting to establish social ethics, social proper behavior, they're being worked against at all times by people who see their jobs as the antithesis of that, destroying and disrupting and corrupting social progress. And it's still in the world as an attitude, what I'm telling you. And I don't think I have to show you any proof of that. Turn on the television. So the troublemakers are those who commit what the Quran calls nifaq. N-I-F-A-A-Q, nifaq. It shows us how to cultivate this garden that Allah is speaking about when he says, have taqwa for this and have taqwa for that and have taqwa for me and have taqwa for the wombs that bore you. Allah is inviting you into a developing garden And Allah is showing us how to cultivate that garden while keeping the weeds in that garden at bay. See, with that beautiful growth in the garden comes weeds and boll weevils and all kinds of other destructive aspects of creation that become the challenge for the garden. So the garden that we're calling your human soul, Allah has also allowed for life forms to develop in and around that garden that are going to be challenging your soul, not to bring your soul into perdition, but to bring your soul into human excellence. So this is an appeal from Allah to those among mankind that are called An-Nas by Allah. How do we know it's an appeal? Because it begins with the word Ya. Ya ayyuhan nas, O you mankind. Whenever you see Allah begin a sentence with Ya, as he does here in Surah 4, Ayat 1, understand that it is an appeal from Allah. And it is an appeal for you to begin paying attention. Think about this. In the hood, where many of us grew up, if you wanted to get somebody's attention on the street, you would say, yo, especially if that person was about to experience some possible danger. They're walking out in the middle of the street listening to their whatever. And this car is coming or a truck is coming, and you know that they don't see that vehicle, that possible danger, that accident coming. You say, yo. Well, that's what Allah is saying on the much higher level when he says, yeah. He's saying, look out. Pay attention to what I am pointing your attention to. So whenever you read that one little vocative, yeah, understand that it should have an exclamation mark behind it if it's in transliteration form. And Allah is speaking that appeal towards all mankind. He's saying to all mankind, this is not Ya ayyuhal muslimun, Ya ayyuhal mu'minun. He's not talking to this small group of people that came into vogue after the teachings and the life and the preachings of Muhammad the Prophet. That's not who this is talking to. This is talking to everybody that considers themselves to be humankind. Those who practice taqwa, which means caution, especially in the intellect. Those who practice taqwa are embraced by and under the protection of Allah's mercy, his rahmah, his arham. See? Ittaqullah wa arham. Have taqwa for Allah, have caution for Allah, and by extension, the wombs that are developing you, evolving you, and involving you into the world. So it's not just talking about the Muslims, it's talking about from humanity and among humanity that Allah is giving this embrace to of this special level of mercy. Now, the word nas is comprised of the letter nun, and nun, as most of you now know, is called a nasal letter, meaning it's a letter that reverberates in the nostril passages. And you see how even the English word nose sounds like nas, how the English word nasal has the word nas in it, N-A-S-A-L. It's just saying, A-L, it just means the in Arabic. They just put the on the end of the word. They said nasal, it's really al-nas. These people figured this thing out a long time ago, and they coded it into other languages, such as the English language. So when you say nasal, it's talking about the beginnings of how the human intellect is designed to develop. It's designed to develop on the level of nas. And nas, again, is connected to the nose as a nasal letter. And the nose, as most of you now know, is connected to the idea of intuition. Intuition. Before the human being develops into an intellect per se, meaning one who is now capable of determining and discriminating and distinguishing between things so that they might pick the better thing over the worst thing. That's what the intellect does. It means internal election, the things that you are choosing between, but inside, internal election. That's what the word intellect means. But the intellect is preceded by the development of your intuition. And we've spoken on that subject quite extensively. When Musa in the Quran leaves his family to go see what this fire that he was perceiving was, it says that he went down into the valley of Tuwa. Tuwa, Tuwa. Tuwa is consonantally connected to Tuit, Tuit. And Tuit obviously is connected as a word to the word tuition, which is something you pay when you want knowledge. You go to college and you pay tuition, but it's also related to the word intuition, something that is paying the bill inside of you for extra knowledge. But you got to be curious to get it. That's your payment for intuition. You got to be speculative. You got to be curious. You got to be inquisitive. All of those things are contributing towards your intuition. And intuition is not something that comes from out there like knowledge comes and develops your intellect. Intuition is something that Allah placed inside the vessel that you call you. You are born with intuition, but it's a faulty intuition. It's not a well-developed intuition. That comes later. After the development of the intellect, then a secondary intuition comes into play that we call supra intuition. That is more sure-footed than a baby's intuition. A baby just suspects because of the way it feels in that environment. I'm in trouble. This guy looks like he's going to do something bad to me. And it's not necessarily so. You understand? That's a baby's intuition. Musa, went down into the valley of Tuwa because Allah was introducing him to that supra intuition. Moses was, for the whole life of Moses, from a baby, floating on the river up to Pharaoh's house. That little baby Moses, he had to have a stimulated intuition. Where in the world and how did I get here? And all of the time that he's growing, he's depending more on his intuition than he's depending on his intellect or some supra version of his intuition. When he went to see what was going on with his fellow Hebrew, as they tell the story, and the Egyptian that was bothering the Hebrew, that Egyptian got his lights punched out by Musa as a young man. But Musa was wrong for doing that, as the story continues and tells you. So what was Musa depending on to make the determination that this man was threatening the life of this Egyptian? To the point where Moses felt like he had to knuckle back and swing on this guy. He didn't really intend to kill him, but the man died. Because of what? Faulty intuition. Because that same man, Moses caught up with him some months later, and the man was bugging somebody else, some other Egyptian. And the man had the nerve to say, hey, are you going to do to me what you did to the Egyptian, Moses? That's his Hebrew brother talking to you. You're going to do to me what you did to the, So this man wasn't operating correctly in the intellect. And Musa wasn't operating correctly in the intuition department. So most of what Musa did as a journey, if you read all of the places in the Quran and in the Bible where it speaks about Musa, you're going to see that he was one who was challenged on the level of his intuition. So when he said, I perceive a fire, he was talking intuitively about his intuition, Nobody else saw the fire. He said, and nas to nar. And nas to nar. The same word nas that we were discussing, that means humankind who are under the rule of their intuition. That's what nas means. So that's what the perception is. His wife didn't see, she was there with him. He said, and nas to nar. I perceive a fire. He didn't say, do you see it? No, because it was perception, and perception is intuition based. When you get intuition from Allah, that's when your perception begins to expand, but only you're seeing it until you teach it to somebody else. When Instructor Bilal gets intuitive sparks and goes into perception, you don't know it. It happens for me sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning. And I have to wait till Sunday evening to tell it to you. And then you're able to share that intuition and grow and add on to the value of your intellect and your intellectual decisions. But it's based on the intuitive spark is the point. So don't downplay perception and how perception comes into the human intellect. Understand that it is Allah who is teaching all of us, and he does it through the agency of perception, aka intuition. So nas is a combination of the consonants nun and sin. Nun, as we just explained, is connected to your intuition, like what Moses received in the valley of Tuwa, tuit, tuition, etc., intuition, etc. And the letter sin, the S sound, represents the brilliance of the teeth. And its abstract meaning is the intellect. It's referring to the brilliance of the human intellect and its ability to make the right choices. That's called being bright, academically speaking. See, that's called being light, having light in the mind. All right. So that's the nas and the sin working together. That represents the intuition working together with the intellect. Doesn't that make sense? It's a beautiful thing when you understand it. Now, nun as a meaning means seed, but it also means fish. And you'll notice that in most seeds, they're shaped like the shape of most fish. Like your eye also. The contour of your eye is shaped like a fish. And this is important to understand when you're attempting to figure out the higher logic of the Quran, when it uses these symbols and these letters and these connections in the logic. There's a surah called Nun, and they translate it as the fish. Some say the whale, but it's still basically the same shape, doesn't matter. But Nun means fish, yes, but Nun in its essence means seed. And just as the big fish in the Quran, who was called a hoot, 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 you know, like those big steamships, you know, he was called a hoot, and he swallowed Yunus or Jonah, and he eventually had to puke him out of his system. You know what does that? Seeds. Seeds are about the business of puking out their potential. They can't hold it once they're in the right environment for growth. The seed can't say, hey, your oak tree existence, you can forget about that, man. I'm comfortable with you being inside of me. The seed doesn't say that. The seed says, hey, sunlight, water, oxygen, air, I'm out of here. And then the seed pukes out its potential, if you'll excuse that graphic. It pukes out, it spits out its potential into the soil. So it means seed and it means fish. Both of these creations breathe beneath the surface. Fish must breathe beneath water, and seeds must breathe beneath the soil. So we're making connections in the logic now. Intuition breathes beneath the intellect. It's lurking beneath your ability to make proper choices. The intuition is the first thing to kick in and say, I perceive an opportunity here. I don't know what it is. Moses didn't know what that fire was. He said, I perceive a fire. Let me go check it out. It might be some benefit over there for me, for the family. or at least I can warm my hands on that fire. Right? That's what Moses said in the Quran. See, but it's the perception that leads you there first is the point. And intuition is that first level of sight or insight that draws you closer so that you can begin to investigate. And it's the investigation that brings you into the broader light, the more comprehensive knowledge. So intuition breathes beneath the intellect, but if taken above the surface and made if taken above the surface and made the leader, it will not produce. Think about that. Intuition is supposed to always be on the sub level. It's not supposed to supersede what the intellect is able to determine. See, I have a hunch. I dreamed about this number. I'm talking to people who gamble like that now. And I think I need to go play this number. 545. I just moved from that address. And when I woke up this morning, I got a hunch to play 540. You don't have any special, determined knowledge in that area. It's just a hunch. It's just your intuition. So you look at your situation, your family, your bills are due, your rent is due, the children ain't got much food in the fridge and all of that, but you're going to take that $5. You're going to play it on a hunch. That's you putting intuition above what your intellect is charging you with doing. You can't do that. It's not going to end well for you. Intuition was not meant to rule the human life. Not even super intuition is made to lead your life. The intellect was created to lead your life in the light, not in the semi-dark, as intuition is known to do. Now look at this word nafs that is normally translated as soul, the human soul, created min nafsin wahida, from one essential soul or person or personality, as we stated earlier. Nafs is a combination of the letters nun, fa, and sin. Take out the vowel, it's not necessary. Nafasa, nun, fa, sin. And nafs is the breathing intellect. See, wherever you have the letters nun and fa, which are indicative of what's being done through the nasals of the nose, and fa is the opening up of the mouth. Fa, you can't help it. Fa. Then nun representing intuition, the nose factor. Fa representing the open mouth. Together they represent the nose connected to the mouth. It's that simple. See, you breathe in and out through both your nose and your mouth, but the essential method for breathing is actually the nose. That's the nose's job. You only really breathe through the mouth if there's an emergency situation. If you're overtired or you over whatever, and you're out of the race, and still you try to breathe. It's better to breathe through your nose, even if you're tired and you just ran a race. It's still better for the body if you just breathe through the nostrils. But understand that those two methods of breathing are what's being spoken to. In nun fa, when you add the sin, which represents the chewing in the intellect on information, so that it can break that information down into smaller quantities that are easier for digestion. See, so the sin, the S, represents the intellect and its activity. The nun is the intuition. That information graduates to the fa, and the fa represents just being open. Being open, like the breathing doesn't happen until the nose and the mouth become open. So nun, fa, sin. Nun, fa is taking place in the sin, in the intellect. And that's what makes you a nafs. That's what makes you a living soul. You're not a living soul if your intuition is not activated and if your intellect is not operating. You're not a soul. You have to be open to opportunities. You have to be open in terms of your perception of things in you and around you. That's when you become a human soul. And we'll speak more in that term as we go along. So there are words in the Quran that begin with the nun and the fa, and it has a third radical at the end of it, such as nathatha. You've read the surah, nathathati fil uqad, right? The one who is blowing on knots. You see blowing, breath, breathing. Anytime you see a word in the Quran that has the nun fa connection, it's going to have something to do with breathing. Breathing on knots in this case. Then you have natha-kha. That's the third radical. You see the nun and the fa in natha-kha. That means to breathe also, but spittle is connected to the breathing. You know how you breathe so hard and heavy sometimes that you're talking to somebody and you're out of breath and all of a sudden, and they go, man, you know, say it, don't spray it. We used to say that in elementary school. Oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to spit on you, man. I was just excited about it. Well, you know, dapping down on that excitement, bro. Okay, so that's breath with spittle. That second mentioning of taqwa. Here's one, have taqwa for your Rabb. Here's the second, have taqwa concerning your duty to Allah. The second mentioning of taqwa contains Allah's proper name, as we mentioned earlier. If the initial appeal coming from our Rabb, meaning the nurturing parental treatment that Allah affords us, if that urge, that appeal is not responded to, then the full force of Allah's command steps in. If you don't respond to Allah as a nurturer, as a provider, see, as a maintainer over you, if you don't respond to Allah in regards to that activity that Allah is giving you free of charge, then Allah has to step in front and center in your life. Look at the context of what Allah is speaking to. By the rights of the family, we're talking about family rights when we talk about the arham, the wombs that bore you. You're not just born out of your mother's womb, you're born also out of your sibling's womb, meaning your sibling's environment. The environment that is growing them is also growing you. You're growing also out of your neighbor's wombs, because the things that you will benefit from based on what your neighbors do for you as a family, you're also growing based on that. You go leave home and you end up in the womb that you call the classroom. See, all of these are wombs. That's why Allah made it plural, arham. He didn't say just have taqwa for the rahm, the singular womb. No, that would be just your mother. He said arham, which is plural. That's 3 and more. It can be as many as you want. We're born over and over and over and out and out and out of multiple wombs in this one lifetime. Your first job, that's another womb. And you have to develop, you have to learn what that job is about, what it takes to grow in that profession. You have to learn all of that. All of those are wombs. If you treat these experiences that you're coming into as the developing life is treated in the womb by Allah, you have to study that, how that life is treated in order for it to maximize on the growth potential that Allah clocked into it. Take that principle and begin to apply that to your job. Take that principle and apply it to your marriage. That's another womb you just came out of, being born out of. Well, the tender mercy that Allah shows you in the womb, the care and the consideration that Allah shows you, even though you're going through some stuff trying to be born into this world physically, there's still an overriding mercy when you look at that life as it's being delivered out of its mother, and it's kicking and crying and stretching and screaming, and then the eyes open and he sees his mama, and mama puts a little breast in his mouth and he back in heaven. That happens over and over again for different levels of experience in this human life. And this is the science that the Quran is pointing to. It's not just pointing to mundane, everyday information that you could have found on your own. Allah is teaching you principles of operation in this life. Now, it's focusing in on the rights of the family ties through which we petition one another. To not fulfill our responsibility to our family, to the arham, is to not fulfill our duty to Allah. That's why Allah's name is in that same phrase. Ittaqullah, have taqwa for Allah, wa arham, and the family ties, or and the wombs that bore you. Allah kept his name, his proper name, Allah, in that sentence, in that quote from the Quran. Because to not do that, I repeat, is to not show proper regard or proper taqwa for Allah. The closer the relationship, the stronger the obligation. So we're going to end on that note. I think that's enough. They say a little dab will do you. I think you got your dab. Between the learners and the guests that spoke earlier, I can't wait for the replay to just go back and listen to that before I go to bed tonight. And I'm so thankful to each and every one of you who made the contribution tonight. I'm noticing that the learners are becoming more and more mellow. That's a beautiful thing, just mellow. You know, we had a little mishap, and Abdul Alim and other people just began to chime in and give their assistance where their assistance was called for. That's a beautiful thing. And I hope that you will keep up that level of behavior. All right. So is really, I'm going to ask William to come back in case there's anything that we missed. He can address it. But if not, then this will be the end of our session for today. And inshallah, we'll see each other again on next Sunday. William?
We didn't miss anything. I just want to, again, just express my gratitude for this wonderful experience that we're all in, and we're being drawn closer and closer together. We're really forming community life.
Indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so happy to be on this ride. Even if I was in the caboose, I'd be happy. All right. So with that said, I thank all of you for being with us on this 25th day of July. There goes my sevens again. 2023. There goes my 777 again. I don't know. I'm not going to go out and play them now. Don't get excited. I'm just acknowledging that Allah blessed us with a day that represents spiritual growth and development. That's what the number 7 is. That's why they say 7 heavens, right? Allah says that in the Quran. 7 skies, 7 heavens. And he also in another place talks about 7 earths. Oh man, once we come into what that 7 means, you won't have time to play any more numbers. You'll be too busy studying numbers. That's going to be our next profession. After we get good at studying letters, every letter is connected to a number. All right. So keep that in mind. 7 chakras, right? Yeah, these are things that are deeply embedded in the sciences when it comes to 7. Okay. Even if you look at the number 7 as we express it, you know what it is. It's a plane on top, and then it goes down. That was you. Allah said he created you in the paradise. Then he said, get you down from here into the earth. All of these numbers have that kind of significance. All of them. All of the letters and their shapes, as I show you from Nunetics and the N-word, they all have their significance. So enjoy this ride. It's a one-of-a-kind experience. All right, Bayina, I'm so happy to see you. This sister here is doing such a wonderful job in her research. It is an amazing thing, much of the information that she is finding and bringing, at least to me. I share some of it with you, but I'm waiting for her to put it in her own book package. I'd pay for it. It's that profound. And Abdul Alim, man, oh man, I hope a book is coming from you. If you want to give it away, go ahead and do that. But you need to produce it. You're doing such a great job. Okay. And if that's one of your children in the background, give them the greetings from all of us also. Yeah. All right. Muhammad Alim Ali, he's another one, a professional educator like Anwar. Anwar, we have some professional people who teach for a living.
Yeah.
All right. So that means they have to put in a certain level of study or else they can't keep their jobs.
That's right.
They can't go up in front of the classroom guessing at knowledge. They have to really, really establish knowledge rationally. All right. So thank you also for being with me and countless others among you who I'm not mentioning today. It's hard for me to wrap things up when I have a group that is this proficient. And I have to say to you, I love each and every one of you and what you bring to the table, to the Nunetics table. Keep on keeping on. Keep on bringing it. We need it. The world is falling apart around us.
Yeah.
And they need this for their brains. They're babies now. Yeah, they're making it hard for them to know whether they're males or females. You know, they need Nunetics.
Yeah.
Every letter is either male or female. How come our children are now not knowing what a male and a female are? And I feel like a woman. What does that mean? I feel nice. I feel compassionate. That makes you a woman? No, I'm not going to get into it tonight. That subject bothers me to no end. But it's going to be addressed, and it's going to be addressed through this brand new academic environment that we call Nunetics. Thank you all. I greet you with peace. Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
All right.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. See you soon.